Hello everyone and welcome back to Sky Gardens. Welcome to episode number 2 of my little project for the South America DLC. I'm Rudy, and as always, today we are going to build a habitat for a Capuchin monkey. So this is what you can expect from today's episode. It will be a time lapse around 15-16-ish minutes, and we are going to tackle this in a very detailed way. Now let me tell you, that was a huge struggle to get the animals where I wanted them to be, but there's a lot we can talk about in terms of how the game actually works and what kind of things you need to keep in mind to make sure that your animals behave the way you want them to behave. Now, this thing over here, this time-lapse, is taken from my Twitch live stream that I had together with Shantae from Frontier Development. So, in case you don't know who she is, Shantae Goodman is the community manager of Planet Coaster, actually, and she's in the team of Bo Marriage, who is the lead community manager for the Planet games, and also Jurassic World Evolution. And Shantae was in my stream together with me, checking out some of the things I built, and she gave a lot of cool insights about the game. So one thing they changed lately, and this is very important to notice, is the way how the traversable area is calculated. So every time you go into the game needs a few minutes to recalculate all the traversable area. But once this is done, the performance is a lot better because the animals do not constantly search for a huge change in the traversable area. That means also, when you are going to tackle the traversable area while you build, it always takes a while until they have resettled it. So what I'm doing is I'm pausing the game basically. I build some stuff and then I unpause the game, give it a bit of time until the animals have recalculated their traversable area, and boom, back to performance you are. So that's the easiest way of doing it. I have to say, I like the change quite a bit because this change really helps improving the performance, because otherwise you always had these lag spikes where the animals were recalculating, but in fact, if there is no need because you are just tackling some other stuff, so let's say in franchise, especially when you're just doing some management stuff, the animals don't need to check for new traversable area, because in a habitat where you don't do anything, there is no change in traversable area, so why take the computing power of your computer, right? So that is the main idea. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's talk about the idea behind this habitat over here. Now, as we are in Sky Gardens and we are on top of this huge hotel, and we are in an area which is a tad bit unrealistic anyways, but I'm just imagining that this might be a very, very expensive hotel which has been built exactly to have what we have, a Sky Gardens zoo. I wanted to make sure also that the animals absolutely stay safe inside this habitat. Now, with these Capuchin monkeys, the main advantage is they are freaking small and they don't like to swim. So whatever you're gonna do, you do need some water to make sure that these animals do not jump over onto, which is in fact your barrier. As you can see, I'm doing that barrier over here, but I'm doing it in 2 steps. I have this temple piece in between, and then I have kind of a glass metal mixed little fencing so that the guests can watch through it, they can see through it and can see the animals, but still there is a distance between the water and them, mainly so that they don't climb into this habitat or whatever, and also the animals are not going to escape via this route by climbing the metal frame or whatever. So I kept it in a distance, and that kind of makes sure that we can also cover up these ugly edges. That was the second reason why I made this fence piece a little bit more thick than what I usually do. But yeah, it really turned out to be looking quite cool, and this is the roundish little temple piece, and it's totally at the other side of the jaguar habitat. So you're looking into the jaguar habitat, you turn around, you're looking into the Capuchin monkey habitat. I mean, yes, it is kind of a big rooftop area, but it's not like gigantic, okay? So there is some kind of space that we need to fill in, but it's not that huge. So this is the reason why I decided to go for quite a small habitat. However, in the second episode, or actually of the second episode, it will be the third episode, we're going to opening that a little bit more up, and we bring in the giant anteater as well. So it's kind of a bit of a foreshadowing here, so you guys can already look forward to it in the future. There might be, as I said, also a revamp of the jaguar house in the future. I'm not quite sure if I put it in the 3rd or in the 4th episode, you will see it, but they will all drop within the week. And then we have also the habitat of the giant anteater that's gonna be made, and we have a little restaurant area, so there's already quite a bit prepared. Now that's really good because it's my week in Kuala Zoo, which means that I don't have that much time to spend on other projects, which is always cool because it's always great to come back to Kuala. Now let's get back to this habitat. You can see that I am taking this time a lot more time than usually to look around and to figure out where I would put stuff. Now the reason why I do this is mainly I wanted to make sure that the animals use the climbing frames a lot. So I wanted to give them a lot of reasons to use the climbing frame. Now, in order to make this, you have to make sure to think about some things how the game work. Now, unfortunately, the animals do not use the climbing per se to fulfill their need. They use the climbing to get to a certain location. The reason why they do it is they are searching for the shortest way possible to their fulfillment of their need. So let's say they are thirsty. They are looking for the shortest way of getting to the water pond or to the little pipe you put them down. Now, if the climbing frame is the shortest way possible there, they are very likely to use this instead of just using the ground. Now, I was putting down a lot of pieces here to make sure that the ground level is a little bit of a zigzag course for them, like it's almost like a parkour. This is kind of cool because it increases the distance between point A and B. So the temple pieces are traversable per se, but since you change an elevation and you change the distance between those pieces, the distance between point A and B, which was a straight line before, is creating first of all, an incline and also a left to right zigzag course. So that means when you put down a second course to get there, which is a boreal, which is in like on top, they will use this one because it's basically straight and leads them quicker to the target that they have. And in order to make sure that there are some targets, you must make sure that there are some things in place where the animals need to go. So as you can see, I put this forage pool in the very center of the habitat, just above the little pond. That means that whenever an animal needs to get there from the entrance of the habitat, it needs to go either completely around this pond or it has to go over the climbing frames. And guess what? They're using obviously the climbing frames quite a lot, and they use this very cool little item, and this is the window. They just climb through the window quite a bit. So I am a huge fan of that. I really do like how this turned out to be working. And here you can really see, while I have the little heat map on, you can really see how the ground is not flat blue, it's just having some gaps in between that increases the distance. And that is how you have to work in this game. You have to make sure that you give the animals the shortest distance to get to the things over these areas that you like them to go the most. That's kind of sounds simple, but it is more complicated than it sounds because, well, the animals have a certain behavior and they are preferring certain things over others at certain times, which is again very confusing because it's not like, you know, if they're thirsty they will always go to the same pipe. It seems almost like sometimes they like to drink from the pond and sometimes they just like to drink from the pipe. I don't know what exactly it is. Might have been a difference in if the water is not clean or whatever, but I'm not really sure if that's the case. But yeah, you can see I'm just connecting a lot of areas here with some ropes and just giving them some more climbing opportunities. And the important bit is that you put down, as you can see, I put this little fruit kind of enrichment item there in a location that they have several routes that are potentially having mostly the same distance. And I just thought, okay, let's give them some more stuff to walk there, because then they choose also to go there. And you can see at the end of the day, it all works. And then I found that these guys were having a little party over here, and I decided, you know what, I want this forage thing to look a little bit more different, and I created them a little party area with a little shelter area to make sure that they go there even more often. I was checking some of the pieces until I found some suitable pieces here. You can see this is quite a funny idea, because one of the animals has been named Maggie B, and I made this fluffy. I'm finally happy that it is gone now after this very long playing session, but it's always funny to use that sheet. I like that sheet quite a bit. Yeah, I was using some of the fruits to put some stuff down, so it almost looks like they're eating from the fruits and not from the forage pool. I don't know, I just like the idea that they have some fruits there as well. And then I thought, okay, let's give them some shade, because, you know, sitting there the whole time in full sunlight might not be the best for the animals. So I was about to say, let's use some stuff to give them some cool shade. And I found this Spanish moss, which is also coming new with the new DLC. Or is it free? I think it's free update even. It's really cool. You can create like nearly thatch roof looking things with it. And I just created that thing over here, as you can see, as a little shelter. They use it quite often, so I'm really happy about how this turned out as well, like a really cool little bit. And yeah, so one thing I really have to talk about as well is the usage of temple pieces. Now obviously this bit over here is fully man-made. It's not like a natural habitat in any means. I mean, you are on top of a hotel, and even though these temple pieces might look super realistic, and in the game they even might be stone, it is way more realistic to think that these things in this actual thing over here might not be stones, but some kind of lighter material that is also resistant, but still is very light, because again, this is built on top of a hotel, and you can see me even looking at where I placed this tree, because realistically the roots of the tree grow quite deep, so you need to make sure that you have an area of this hotel that has some kind of space where the roots can be growing. And honestly, even though it's not realistic, I wanted to try to keep it as realistic as possible, to not break too much of the illusion. Like, yeah, sure, this hotel isn't even bigger than what like the Marina Sands Bay, which it is based on, would ever be, but still I kind of can see that this looks cool and would work. And I mean, I think maybe if there is someone out there in the comments of you guys who is really good at static and building and architecture, he can tell me if that is possible or not. But I would say, like, with the knowledge we have as human beings and with the architectural skill we have, it would be possible to build something like that. I mean, it's not like cheap, it's not like easy, and it would potentially be pretty dangerous indeed, but I think it would be possible, wouldn't it? And you still would obviously look into making this whole rooftop area as light as possible. That said, using water and using stone pieces is not the best idea, so it's kind of, yeah, trying to make it realistic where we are in an area which is totally not realistic, but it's kind of the way I want to go anyways. It is the way I think it's the best to do it, and yeah, I just wanted to go for the idea. That's the full truth. I just, you know, but I don't want to go fully abroad and fully crazy on it. Now, the rest of this episode is mainly, yeah, making it more lush, at the same time maintaining some kind of good views for the guests, and some, yeah, just making it look as overgrown as it can be, while not hiding the animals away too much, because the animals are pretty small. That means the more foliage you put down to the ground, the more you hide the animals away. And even though it is kind of cool for the animals, it's not too cool for the guests. And yeah, so this is why we end up having a lot more blend areas where there only is some grass texture instead of having some actual foliage on the ground, mainly to have this. This zigzag course over here is fully cosmetical, even though sometimes the animals use it for whatever reason, because that is definitely not the shortest way possible they can use. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it is because they are fulfilling the need of climbing in that sense then. And again, you could potentially argue that since these little climbing pieces are very short for each piece, that they can fulfill the climbing need the quickest there, because the pieces are just very shortly after each other, and then after just going up and down, they fulfilled the need for the next 20 minutes. I really don't know how exactly that works. So yeah, you can see now how this turns out to be looking, but again, in comparison to my usual builds, this was a lot more trial and error than I usually have. Mainly because I wanted to make sure that this building looks cool. And this is the last bit I was doing. I wanted to make a custom tree, which was using this wonderful new root piece. Like, the cool bit about this tree is they cannot climb it, since the root seems to be not climbable. And that means you can use this tree quite nicely to just give them some shade and not destroy too much of the views, because I could make it higher as the other trees while still maintaining a cool looking trunk. And that is the reason why I used this piece, and I just copied that around once because I found this so nice looking. And yeah, just making the habitat more lush at the same time. And yeah, looking at it from above, I can really tell that this might evolve to be one of my most favorite habitats to date, because it's so intricate, it's so detailed, and honestly the animals using it very nicely indeed. And yeah, it's just looking pretty cool, and it really fits the mood of this Sky Gardens location. And yeah, you guys can just tell me what you think about it, but I am fairly happy with how it turned out to be looking with all the overgrown stuff. I will try to make a real-time part, but I'm not sure if I do have a save of this state of the build. So if I do have, I'm gonna make a real-time part. If not, I'm just going to include some small cinematics at the end now, and that should be it for today's episode. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode, and as always, I am always happy to see your feedback in the comments down below. As you know, that helps me out a lot, that helps the channel. So if you have something to talk about, make sure to drop it down in the comments down below, or just say hi, just say good day, whatever. I always am happy about this. But now, stay safe, enjoy your Sunday, and we are going to see each other next week a lot of times with some more stuff on Sky Gardens and more to come. Have a good time, and goodbye everyone.